I'm announcing today that I will not support any appropriations bill that funds the government beyond December 31st unless we get this DACA issue resolved.
That was Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo in November saying that he won't vote for a spending bill unless Congress comes up with a solution for Dreamers, those undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as young children with their parents. This comes as reports that Democratic lawmakers are stepping away from their threats to shut down the government to save Dreamers, making it more likely that the immigration fight will be held off until next year. I'm joined now by Congressman Curbelo, who's live in Miami. Congressman, thanks so much. It's great to see you.
Good evening, Casey. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with this spending fight. Is your position still that you will not vote for any continuing resolution to fund the government past December 31st if it doesn't have a fix for Dreamers?
That's absolutely right, Casey, and I've always voted to fund the government because I think it's the right thing to do, the responsible thing to do. But I think we need to take a stand, those of us who want to stand up for these young Americans, and I call them Americans because even though they're not documented, they grew up in our country, they speak perfect English, they're working here, they're productive, they've gone to college, some of them want to serve in our military. So it's time to say enough. Congress has been debating this Dreamer issue for 16 years, no action. So I think now's the time to say, let's get done before we go home for the holidays. Let's give these young people and the country the gift of making sure that they can stay here for the rest of their lives. Oh, and by the way, if we can reach a compromise and have some common sense, reasonable border security in there as well, let's deliver that too. But let's not wait till next year.
Does your stance on this mean that you don't think there's a way to make a fix for Dreamers if the Congress waits until after the holiday? Do you think it makes it less likely or potentially impossible for a deal?
I think it's possible to get a deal next year. If we don't get one this week, I will certainly work hard to get one next year. But I will tell you this, Casey, the closer we get to that March deadline, when these work permits start expiring, when the DACA protections start going away for Dreamers, I think at that point it's going to be harder and harder to get a good compromise that can solve this issue. So that's why some of us have taken the stand, no, let's get it done now. Let's not let this spill over into 2018. And by the way, the President of the United States has called for this. He has called on Congress to act. We know Republican leaders are open to this. Obviously, Democratic leaders are supportive as well. So let's just get it done.
Breitbart is writing about your stance here. There's a headline, Congressman Curbelo, I will vote to shut down the federal government unless we get, and they call it DACA amnesty. Do you think that Breitbart is a productive force in this country?
No, and you ask that very kindly. Not at all. And quite frankly, on this immigration issue, it's the extremists on both sides who have prevented a compromise and a solution for years. The people on the far right who call this amnesty, even though it's not. The people on the far left who believe that this issue is so potent politically that they don't want it to get solved. They just want to use these young people. And we saw that last week when a lot of young people were encouraged to go to my office, to Senator Schumer's office, and do a sit-in. We're their friends. We're trying to help them. They should go to the offices of the members who haven't made the commitments that we have. So I reject all of that rhetoric that is dishonest, that misleads the American people, and that tries to sow the division and the hatred that we see more and more in our politics in this country.
Congressman, we showed a generic ballot poll from NBC News. It's a new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll that shows 50% of Americans now say that Democrats should control Congress. That is a pretty significant milestone heading into 2018. You are on the front lines of this fight for Congress that Republicans are going to be facing in 2018. I'm wondering, do you think that Republican leaders in Congress are doing enough to stand up to President Trump?
Casey, I don't worry about re-election. I tell people that the best re-election
I've never met a
strategy...
politician that doesn't worry about re-election.
I don't. The best re-election strategy is to do a good job. And you know, people ask me, what about your seat? Well, it's not my seat. It's the seat of the people of the 26th District of the state of Florida, and they can do with it whatever they please. I'm going to work hard to get re-elected when campaign season comes around. But for now, the most important thing that we need to do, each member in Congress, is number one, get good things done. You know, I helped write the tax bill. You know, I'm going to be pushing hard to get it across the finish line next week. This dreamer issue is a big deal for me. I think if we deliver it with some common sense border security, a lot of Americans are going to be happy. And of course, Congress needs to fulfill its constitutional role to be a check and a balance on the executive and on the judicial branch as well. And I'm certainly a member who's always willing to be honest. When I disagree with President Trump, I'm very vocal about it. When I agree with him, I'm also very vocal about it. By the way, that's exactly how I treated President Obama.
Is there room for you, do you think, in this Republican Party?
There is right now. There is right now, and quite frankly, I think we need more members in both parties, not just in the Republican Party, in both parties who are willing to reach across the aisle, who are willing to find compromise, who are willing to be honest with the American people and not demagogue every single issue. That's the revolution that we need in our country's politics, because the vast majority of Americans who are not radicalized are being drowned out, and each day they have less and less space for them in our political system. So I'm leading the charge, trying to bring Republicans and Democrats together where we can agree, working with the Problem Solvers Caucus, a group that's dedicated to this specific mission. So we have a lot of work to do, Casey, but I think voices that try to bring people together in Washington, D.C. are more necessary than ever before.
Congressman Carlos Curbelo, thank you very much for your time tonight, sir. I really appreciate it.
See you in D.C. this week, Casey. Thank you.